This is the MLS Now podcast. So, guys, let's talk about what's going on in MLS right now, this very second, starting with what happened last weekend. I think we all probably thought that the Galaxy would win this going in. We thought it would be closer with the missing Ricky Pooge. However, who had it on their bingo card? A literal last minute warm-ups were completed. Players were ready to walk out. Andres Reyes could no longer start, couldn't even make the bench because of illness, and forced an extremely unplanned center back change for New York Red Bulls that I would say probably led directly to both goals that the Galaxy scored. It wasn't on my bingo card. David called the score right. We'll give David his flowers, right? David said 2-1. Yep. We'll give him, the nice round of applause there. Do I even have a round of applause cheering? I do. Here you go, David. This one's for you. All right, enough of that. David, you earned it, though. Well done calling the score 2-1. Brilliant prediction there. With that said, I mean, David, since you got it right, go first. Presumably not how you foresaw this game going and happening, right?
I think the Galaxy going up 2-0 very quick actually, well, not actually, obviously, the pressure the Red Bulls to not play their style, which made the game more attractive, made the game a really good final. Top five, top six MLS Cups of all time. Exciting. You can't really mention one from before. But anyways, it pushed them, right? If we would have, let's say, hold it 0-0, we would have seen the same Red Bulls we always seen. Defensive, without the ball, waiting for an opportunity, waiting for a corner kick, waiting for a free kick, waiting for something. But the Galaxy going up to 0 in 20, 25 minutes, pressure them to play a style that we're not used to seeing the Red Bull play, which is attack, get the ball, go up, right? Go straight up. And it was fun to see. It was exciting to see, and I personally liked it. Question for you guys, and the player that was out by like 10 minutes before the game started, can nerves do that much as a professional athlete? I was
I'm
seeing a lot of
sure they
comments.
could,
I was seeing a lot of
but
comments, people saying it was like he was just nervous. Nothing came out. He didn't have the flu. He didn't have any virus. He didn't any food poisoning, anything like that. Nothing officially has come out.
I don't know if the club will put anything out, though. Because let me ask you this, David. I'll answer your question with a question. Would it matter? Because they said illness. Would it matter what kind of illness he had if they published it? Because
You're
there
right.
will always be some fans that say, oh, he should have played anyways.
That is true.
Or, if he was good enough in warm-ups, there's no way the 5 minutes between warm-ups and going back down the tunnel would have been enough for those
That is
symptoms
true.
to come out. He should have given
I,
us 45 or something like that.
I also do, one, I want to credit the Red Bull, right? Played a great game, great season, the best season they've ever had. Um, and again, played a style that we're not used to seeing them play, and it was fun to see them play. But I also want to cheer on their supporters, their away fans. They showed up the numbers. They showed up in numbers and made some noise over there. It was a fun game, but man, the Galaxy, they're just so fun to watch. They're so fun to watch. I mean, there was a point of it happens in every game, right, where the team that goes up has to defend the last 5 minutes. It's all out from the opposing team, but they're so fun to watch. The players that we thought were gonna step up didn't step up. Peck didn't really hear his name that much. Other players did step up, right? Other players did show what they have. Um, but it was just again overall an attractive game, a game where the Red Bull could have tied it, a game where the Red Bulls had the opportunity, a game where, if you go back and look at the recap, the Galaxy defenders at the last second, literally at the last second, they intervened. At the last second, they did a slide tackle. At the last second, they got to the ball on time. Um, I don't think many people were expecting this much of excitement in this final. I really don't. And I mean, we weren't. Last episode, if you go back, I said it myself, defensive from the Red Bulls. Galaxy is going to come out with everything. Again, it was the opposite. Seeing the 2-0 made the whole game change, made their plan change, and it was fun to watch from a neutral perspective.
I'll jump in, Russell, on your point about Reyes. I these players train all year for big matches like this. Players don't want to miss these games. So something must have not felt right enough for him to drop out of the starting lineup and off the bench entirely to where he did not feel he could play a single second of this game and provide a um, high quality enough performance that the team needed. So no matter how badly he wanted to play, he couldn't do it for whatever the illness is. I agree it doesn't matter, and I think it's kind of ridiculous to say he just didn't want to play because he was anxious or he was nervous. Now, obviously, there's mental health out there, and like someone could be so anxious and so nervous that they can't perform. I don't think that's the case here. It must have been a significant illness on the game
And
itself. Oh, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, Gavin, and even if it was so anxious that they were having an anxiety attack or a panic attack, it happens. It's a
Yeah,
common condition. Like it happens to tons of people in the US.
there are
It pro-
musical artists who their job is to perform, and some have to back out of shows because of anxiety and nerves because they just can't do it. And unfortunately, they cancel shows and they have to refund tickets and they lose money because of it. Like, so even if it is that, that's a good point. Like, it doesn't matter. So I don't think it matters why Reyes was called out. The fact that it did happen though did have an impact. Now I don't want to blame, so I want to push back a little bit on the it directly caused the two goals. I don't know that too much changes between Isla coming in and Reyes. I mean, Isla wasn't great in those opening 30 minutes, but the whole entire team wasn't great. And I'm not going to put the whole entire team not being great down to one center back replacement coming in. I'm just not going to do it. I see you disagreeing forcefully facially, Russell. So rebuttal me there.
to watch the game. That's my rebuttal. I
He
mean,
did keep them on side,
he
but
kept him on side.
the
It's
whole team broke down. The whole team.
I agree with you that the whole team broke down. However, the player that keeps the person on side because they play a different style than what the rest of the team is expecting from Reyes, right? Reyes would not have dropped backwards. That's just not his game.
We don't know that though. We don't know what Reyes would have done in that moment. We can't just say Reyes would not have dropped back in that exact same scenario.
I think we have enough body of work there to say that based on Reyes's habits and the way he has played this season, that he would not have dropped back there. But to your point, Gavin, sure, we can say it doesn't happen. But I'll also say if you've trained all week thinking Reyes is a go, and you've built up this identity of how you want to play with Reyes, and you know what Reyes is going to do, and you know how to like communicate and where to look for him, and then that changes 5 minutes before. Again, not to say that this is Reyes's fault or the substitute's fault. Like the situation itself of there being a different player is what leads to that goal, to both goals for that matter.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yes. I still think the Red Bulls as a whole came out flat. They came out not ready to play. Every time they got the ball back in those opening basically 28 minutes before they scored, it was too slow. It was trying to pass it around the back and slow the game down before the goal, and then after or the goals, the two goals, and they weren't passing the ball forward at all. They were just trying to slow the game down, and they were too focused on that. They were too focused on slowing the game down, and because, in my opinion, and I said it on the video I posted over on our YouTube, they looked scared. The Red Bulls did not look happy to be in this predicament in the final. They looked like they wanted to slow the game down, make sure that Galaxy didn't really do too much to them. And Galaxy, boom, boom, 2-0 in the first 13 minutes. And it's a credit to the Red Bulls that they didn't crumble at that stage and lose 4-0, 5-0. They kept it close as they could, got it back to 2-1, got it at halftime. And that's exactly as a coach what you would want in that scenario to get to halftime 2-1 at a minimum. So you have a second half to where you can make some changes and go after it. And that's what they did. And to David's point, it was an enjoyable final because of how the Red Bulls responded. So I want to give them credit there. But yeah, the horrible start was ultimately their downfall in this match.
And you guys are going to disagree with me, but half of MLS Twitter agree with me. First goal is on the keeper. First goal is in the middle, right to his hands where he's at. It goes right underneath him. The shot wasn't powerful. The shot wasn't very well located. It wasn't going upper 90. It wasn't going straight to the bottom corner. It was right in the middle where he's at. It's all on him. Well, not all, half on him.
Well, wait, hold on. So are you saying that Twitter agrees with you that it's all on the keeper or half on the keeper then?
I'm saying Twitter agrees with me that the keeper could have done more. You go back and watch the replay. The keeper could have done more on that goal.
I think the keeper could always do more on most goals.
That specific goal, though, it wasn't. How do I say this in English?
Well, say it in Spanish. Maybe I'll pick up what you mean.
Maybe Gavin's Florida Spanish over there can pick it up. No, it wasn't put in an angle where like it's impossible to get. Right?
It wasn't a golazo.
Well, you have two, right? You have shoot with power or locate it. Right? And it was neither. It was neither.
Okay, so I get what you're saying. It was right at him. It wasn't it was hardly struck. I am never going to blame a keeper in a 1v1 scenario like that for a goal. Very difficult. The attacker can shimmy his body and do little fakes to move the keeper just slightly enough to make things difficult. And 1v1s are one of the hardest things for a keeper to manage. And so I'm not going to put all the blame on Coronel. Could he have done better? Yes. He went for the dive or with the save. He went for the save with his hands, whereas if he went with his feet, he probably just kicks that ball away. It's not the best technique. But for me, if I'm a coach, I'm looking at the midfield. How did they bypass us so easily just with that 1-2 in the midfield? And then how was there that huge gap in between the defenders, which, to be fair to your point, Russell, Isla was one of those two defenders, I believe. How is there that huge gap where they just slot the ball in and Painso, who's one of the fastest players in the league, is able to race onto it? Why have we not dropped off quicker there, essentially? And then after all of those breakdowns, yes, the keeper could have done better. The ball was shot right at him, and he did a poor technique.
But I do agree with Gavin's take earlier. The Red Bulls, the first 20 minutes, they were lost. They did not know where they were at. They did not know what hit them. Maybe because, the crew, New York City FC, really didn't, Orlando didn't really challenge them like that, right? Didn't really go up on them like that. They weren't used to it. It's been 3 games in a row where they weren't challenged to a point where they had to come back from a deficit. They weren't challenged to a point where they were scored 2-1 in the first 30 minutes, the first 45 minutes, right? So all of a sudden you get this, boom, 2 beautiful assists, one beautiful assist, 1 great play by a player, and then you're down 2-0 the first 20 minutes. It's like, what the hell happened? Where are we? What's going on? How do we react? What's our game plan? All those questions that just come up, and everyone's looking for answers.
I think one of my favorite parts about this specific MLS Cup finals is the fact that there's so many different angles that you can talk about this game. Because to your point, we can talk about all the 20 minutes that Red Bulls came out, right? I think all of us agree that the Red Bulls really ought to have done more in that first 20 minutes. But similarly, you can look at Jovelic's goal. Beats 4 defenders to get a shot off against Coronel.
A perfectly placed shot at that. I mean, just a beautiful, beautiful goal from Jovic.
Yeah, I mean, the Galaxy, their attack looked dangerous all year, right? And it continued to look dangerous, and they took advantage of their opportunities. I think we can all think of times that the teams we support have given other teams opportunities to score on them, right? And I think that's why Some people say that soccer is a game of margins because sometimes you give up that opportunity to the other team and your team doesn't capitalize on it. And you think to yourself, that was it. If we don't win, if we lose by 1 goal, that will be the moment that we think to ourselves, we should have scored there. Galaxy capitalized on both those opportunities.
Yeah, now I think the Red Bulls struggled with how direct the Galaxy were playing. Every time they got the ball, they were direct. They were going straight at the Red Bulls. Whereas, to your point, David, a lot of the other teams were also trying to feel their way into these playoff win or go home matches, essentially, these key matches. And Galaxy, they were in the comfort of their own home stadium. The Red Bulls attack wasn't really attacking. Like I said earlier, every time they got the ball, they were going backwards with it to try and keep possession and slow things down. And I think there was maybe one time the ball really went forward. And so, yeah, Galaxy were full steam ahead in those opening 25 minutes or so, and they were very, very direct, and it paid off with 2 beautiful goals.
And to their credit, Red Bulls have played pretty direct this year as well, especially in the playoffs. Which I almost wonder.
They didn't in the final.
They didn't in the final, but if you know that Galaxy are playing direct, let's take David blasted Pareja for this last week, where you had all week knowing how Red Bulls were going to play against you. Red Bulls had to have had all week knowing how Galaxy would play. David is wagging his hand no, but I will just say that David clearly is wagging his hand no because he's saying, Gavin, don't you dare rebut
No, it
Russell.
is not the same thing. Oscar Parejas did not have a last 5-minute, 10-minute sub of a starter he had.
It's not the same thing because he doesn't hate Schwartz like he hates Oscar Pareja.
Tell me, it's not the same thing.
Look, I still think, though, like, how the Galaxy are going to play was not necessarily a mystery. Now, the fact that the Galaxy didn't score after...
It was a little bit of a mystery.
I don't think it was.
They were without Ricky Puig. We didn't know if Royce was going to start. We didn't know if Fagundes was going to start or if Bergman was going to start.
Yeah, so there was just a
tiny bit of mystery.
Yeah. It's not trying to defend Oscar Parejas.
And they have played without Puig on occasions this year, and we've seen how they have played without him.
Now,
it's my rebuttal to that.
Now, there was a moment in that game, right after the first 2 and then the Red Bull score, there was a moment, 15, 20 minutes, where it was just stale. Like, there was nothing going on. It was just a fight in the midfield. Literally a fight in the midfield for the ball. Right? And Galaxy seemed like they were out of ideas. Red Bulls just couldn't seem to go right to the final stage. It was just trying to take control. Either team was trying to take control of the ball. Because after the 2 goals, like Russell was going to, the Galaxy kind of put the brakes on it, or I'm not sure if the Red Bulls put the brakes on, make sure to put them at a stop. But it was like 15, 20 minutes there with both teams were just trying to figure each other out, like where to go next.
Yeah, I think Galaxy were kind of like, oh shoot, we're 2-0 up. Like, okay, let's not mess this up. And then Red Bulls were like, oh shoot, we're 2-0 down. Let's not go 3 or 4-0 down. So I think you're right there. I guess that leads us perfectly into the goal that New York Red Bulls scored, which I don't know about you guys, but the defending from Galaxy on the set piece wasn't great throughout the whole game, but specifically on this goal. And it's a good finish from Nilas.
It was a typical MLS play there.
It's a typical soccer play. We don't have to attribute it to our league specifically, even though it happened in our league specifically.
Very much deserved, though. Like, if the game would have finished 2-0, we could have said the Red Bull deserved the goal. And the Red Bull deserved that, right? After the 2-0, there was a quick 10-minute, right, where they were panicked and then they got it under control. And people do say, right, I'm not sure if they say it, if it's an English saying, but in Spanish it is, 2-0 is the most line score. Like, right, I was tweeting nonstop, and then I realized, oh, shoot, 1 goal from the Red Bulls, and it's like back on. Right, and it happened. It was back on, 1 goal for them. The atmosphere was dropped. Everybody was like more calm. Galaxy were like, all right, we need to score another one. They're back into it. It changed everything again. But yeah, man, I really had fun watching this final. The closing minutes of the match too, there was a moment there where we thought the Red Bull were going to score. Again, great match.